It is official after months of speculation. Major League Soccer is changing their schedule. Beginning in the 2027 season, the season will run from July to May, and the main motivating factor from the commissioner's office was to align with the other top European leagues, thinking that the potential pros outweighed the cons, of which we will discuss on this very segment. Alex Gange-Ruzic, you are in the city of Canada's top Major League Soccer club. Your stadium, as a Vancouverite, famously has a roof. CF Montreal has access to a stadium with a roof, and BMO Field in Toronto does not have one. Those are the obvious considerations for Canadian MLS supporters when this news was made. We heard from Joey Saputo today. Of course, the clubs are putting out their statements. Is this schedule change?
Gabriel Gervais wasn't Joey.
Gabriel Gervais, thank you, Wills. Yes, not Mr. Saputo. Alex, is this schedule change bad, point blank, for Canadian MLS sides?
It is a worry for two of them, and I think for one of them doesn't really change much. To be honest, I think in Vancouver, you look at the schedule change, the weather here is not just not a concern. Even if there was an outdoor stadium, the reality is the difference between here and the rest of the country is right from when I was in U5 and even to now playing in men's league, we play from September to March. Like, it's just how it is here. Whereas in Toronto, Montreal, out east, it's a concern of even the kids play in the summer because in the winter it's bubbles and that's all you got because of the weather. So for Vancouver, I don't think it's much of a worry. For Toronto and Montreal, it's very interesting. Montreal, there's a big question mark of what does the future of the Stade Olympique look like, obviously undergoing renovations. If they can turn that into, what it was before, where they got good use out of the Big O. We have to remember, as Gervais pointed out in his press conference, they had one of their most famous games in this MLS era. The Cameron Porter game was at Big O. It's not like they don't have a history of using it. Okay, maybe there's some potential there. But then Toronto, it's a stadium that is able to handle the winter. It's, they got the heated grass and all that, but it's not necessarily the most pleasant fan experience. That is a huge concern. But the big thing that MLS has been pushing, and it's going to be interesting to see in theory, not a whole lot is actually changing in terms of the dates in which games are played. But now there's the question of, will the fact there's so many regular season games in the cold, is that going to be a big problem? Because at least now there's meaningful games, more fans might go. On the flip side, now you could have your best games in optimal weather. So I think for Canadian teams, Vancouver's fine. Montreal and Toronto have some real questions to answer.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the Canadian teams? I'm happy to go there because Alex has got the wheels turning. I got a lot to say about this because this is a huge decision in so many ways. Canadian teams, yes, but the rest of the league and its potential trajectory, it's just such a big news story. So I think it's worthwhile to take some time and get into it. The Canadian team, the most disappointing thing for me is that this change is taking place, and having proper infrastructure is going to be vital to making this endeavor as successful as can be, giving it a puncher's chance. And quite frankly, we've done nowhere near enough to preemptively strike and put ourselves in a position to even create a winning scenario. Let's start off in Montreal. Like Gabriel Gervais said today that Saputo Stadium is not going to have any real infrastructure changes. They're just going to try to make it as comfortable as possible. So essentially there is a stadium share. They will be splitting their time between two different stadiums. And I'm sorry, what's going on in Olympic Stadium, if they can get some people that can draw the paint on the field properly, and a natural grass field outside provides a completely different feel, not only for the team, but the fans as well. Those are completely different experiences, and they're going to be the team that's most negatively affected by this. And I'm just talking about infrastructure. And they decided not to be part of the World Cup proposal to host during. It seems crazy the city of Montreal not being part of a World Cup featuring Canada because their facilities aren't up for it, summer or winter. So now they're going to the winter and they're just woefully unprepared. I am sorry. We received no assurances that they can actually make this work other than pleasantries For Toronto, that is a World Cup stadium, and they're doing some renovations right now. But that is an outdoor stadium. The concourses, everything about it is completely outdoors and exposed to the conditions. Like the wind just goes right through that place. And with the World Cup, they had a chance to like box it off and put a little bit of a roof over it and actually make it a state-of-the-art facility. Instead, big screens and temporary stands. What are we doing here? Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, they're a big part of this World Cup, the World Cup proposal and how things are going to roll out. And they didn't see this coming? Because we've been reporting this for over 2 years now that this was a proposed change. So they're going to have a stadium that might have the field technology to make it work, but the outside experience for fans is simply going to be difficult. And in Vancouver, Doug Garber was in Vancouver last week saying the stadium with a roof at BC Place, they can't stay there. They need to build a brand new stadium as well. So although it has a roof for now, what the future of the Vancouver Whitecaps looks like is still a big question mark with no stadium situation seemingly anywhere close to being resolved. So 3 Canadian markets, all with question marks. And I understand that you play through it the window, AGR, but in this country, the way that people have played and consumed the sport, it's been through the summer months. You go out and watch your kid play, you bring a lawn chair in May and June and July, or you go out and watch a game, you have a beer with your friends because, hey, it's a beautiful night. What else do I want to do? I want to go out and be outdoors because our winters suck so much. Now they're asking you to flip the script. Come out, spend money, which ticket prices for where I'm sitting aren't going down, to sit in difficult conditions to support a product which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, and sometimes unwatchable in a league where there's like 30 teams and you're not sure what the stakes are each and every day. This move for me, for all Canadian teams, is an absolute negative. I'll throw in any northern climate team. It is a complete negative. It is a huge risk that Major League Soccer is taking here. And by the way, I understand why they're making the move, and some of the rationale does make sense, but this does not serve in the best interest of Canadian MLS fans, nor any of those other fans who find themselves in a northern climate.
Well, I think that's just exactly right. You have the Revs playing in Foxborough. That's not nice in November. Minnesota United, Real Salt Lake. You could go down the list, and then you say, well, who's making the money in this league, and where is the MLS commissioner's office really focused on? But you could make that argument. You could pick that apart. But I think something that I want to discuss is a thing that we are not used to in North American sports, and that is a lengthy mid-season break where we go, yep, it's not going to be playable. Everyone go have a nice Christmas, enjoy your holiday season. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we'll come back. Maybe the League's Cup is played in that window to get something going down south, but we want you to forget about your team for 2 months, and then we want you to come back and reinvest again, Alex. That's not uncommon in some parts of the world, and maybe when you grow up with it, it's different. But I imagine even if it was the Lions or pick your other sport here, that's a long time for a North American consumer with so many other options to be asked to forget about their team.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of the challenges that I'm seeing with this whole change. It's that it's the battle between what's, North American, what's right for these markets, and also what's best for the league and what's best for growth. And I think sometimes those things don't necessarily exist or cohabit with each other because, it is true. And in North America, it's almost the opposite. Because I think of hockey. Hockey has a ridiculously long off season, but it's all at once, right? It's you forget about hockey from whenever your team's eliminated, April, May, June, all the way till October. It's kind of a crazy time. But then once the season starts, preseason starts, it's just a sprint. That's going to be a challenge to the out of sight, out of mind for a few months. But that's the kind of the decisions they're weighing of, okay, well, let's be real. They're not making this change with these sorts of things in mind. For them, it's how can you improve the league? How can you grow the league in terms of transfers and all that? That's what I'm really interested about is, okay, you're making this change. You want to step up and be a major league in terms of transfers and stuff. what's that next step look like? What's that going to look like? Because I think that's what's going to be the most interesting thing from fans is is MLS going to stay the way it is now? Then it might be a bit of a harder sell if you're a CF Montreal fan and your team's languishing, or if it's TFC and they've had struggles for years, or all of a sudden if teams are going to have more DPs or a bigger salary cap and they're going to at least bring in stars, all of a sudden this is a bit of a different proposition. But the schedule break, the weather, those are all the sorts of things you have to consider in trade-off of, okay, is this going to push the league to a new level that you weren't able to do before? And they clearly felt that like that's the case.
What other North American league takes like a 6 to 8 week break in the middle of it?
None. The Olympics for the NHL this year, Wheels, is as close as you'll get to North American sports.
And there's a reason why the NHL pushed back for so long and didn't allow their players to go to the Olympics, because they didn't want to take, a 3 week break? This is going to be at least double that. And beyond that, if you're a northern climate team and your games are going to be like pushed to the spring or late summer, you might be, so if you're in Toronto or Montreal or Minnesota, you may have a home match like the beginning of November and then and have a season ticket to your team and might not be able to watch your team at home in the same very season again until March. Until March. So you just hot tub time machine it and just like try to black out I understand why they're doing this, but is this the best possible solution? It's very difficult for me. Also, I just want to bring this up. Like the times that people in this country in northern climates love to go and watch sports is spring and summer. If your team doesn't make the MLS Cup playoffs, which Toronto didn't this year, Montreal obviously didn't either, and Vancouver's been there, done that before, there's no guarantees. You're not seeing games in your own stadium in this country in April, May, June, and well into July. What are we doing here? Like, I read some of the comments that people send me that, they sell Lambeau Field. Like, are you comparing your MLS team to the Green Bay Packers, which are an institution, which play 8 home games or 9 home games a season? It's not apples to apples. This is Major League Soccer. And I'm sorry, other than the signing of like a Lionel Messi, a David Beckham, someone that, what sort of players are going to be transferring this league when there's 30 teams to generate that kind of interest on a week-to-week basis? I just don't see it. Like, this is a really, really difficult look. And I've heard the statistic thrown out that 91% of the games stay the same. Well, I'd love to see how those mathematics are actually done and what games that includes and what that doesn't, because it doesn't seem like it adds up. And you're asking fans who are already asked to give a whole lot, you're asking them to give a whole lot more. Are the sensibilities there? I think that they really need to trust their audience, that they're going to stand by them and be willing to withstand, the sleet, snow, and whatever else is thrown their way in order to, really want to be part of this. And I feel for the clubs. They're putting on a brave face today, a lot of these northern climate clubs, but they know the people in seasons ticket sales, sponsorships, it just makes everything that much more difficult for me.
Alex, let's bring you back into the conversation with the following question, our final for the day. There's going to be some people who are disadvantaged by this news and are probably frustrated in considering whether or not they're going to renew their season's ticket memberships. You know who's really happy today? Very, very happy today. FC Super du Quebec, Vancouver FC of Langley, and York United in the Canadian Premier League. Those 3 clubs in particular, I think the league as a whole probably benefits, but those 3 markets who will become the only footy ticket in town over the summer months must be thrilled. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think, Supra in particular, what a time to come in the backdrop of this news. Of course, up in York, that's the huge news as well. Big things coming for that club over this off season. Even you look out west, less so, but still, right? It's all of a sudden you gain exclusivity in BC between the months of April and July. That's going to be big news for the two CPL teams. It is definitely a big thing, and from a Canadian perspective, this is where it's interesting because, like Gareth mentioned, each of the three Canadian teams, there's concerns, and that's another thing with MLS that I don't envy. It's just such a the fact that there's 30 teams and you have teams all the way from Florida to California, all the way up to Cascadia to the Northeast. Like, how do you, because on the flip side of it is there's a bunch of people in Florida and in California cheering that they don't have to, or in Texas that they're cheering they don't have to go to July games anymore. So that's the reality where you're living in, is it's upside down. In Canada, it's a little more straightforward. Summer soccer makes more sense for Canada as a whole compared to MLS. All of a sudden, the idea of going to CPL games when it's beautiful out is going to become a lot more appealing to fans. And all of a sudden, after a week where the CPL gained a lot of attention, ironically, for the opposite of summer soccer, I think this could be a bit of a win and something where I think fans could, and that's kind of the reality. I think a lot of fans have kind of struggled to split. Do I support CPL? Do I support MLS, especially that they overlap? This can create a lot of new CPL fans that maybe haven't been able to make that jump. And who knows, that could be a big boost for the league going long term.
Huge. The Canadian Premier League is Canada's league. They're going to make decisions in the best interest of Canadian club teams. That's not the MLS's mandate. And I think that does not to say things in a negative way. That's just the reality of the situation. So from April to the beginning of November, you can watch Canadian club teams in an expanding number of markets outside, again, with a cold beer in your hand in the nice weather, when you're going to want to go out and support Canadian sport. That's what it's all about. I mean, and there are viable alternatives now that Super's coming in each and every one of these MLS markets to kind of say, hey, in the summer, we're your club team. All year round, we're your club team. This is great news for the CPL. Again, it's just, I understand why MLS is doing this. Like, the international windows has been the bigger issue for me. It's not just aligning with the best leagues in the world. It's these international windows. Like, we have a 3-week break in the MLS playoffs. Every year, it's a nightmare. So they've had to try to do something. I just wonder why this has to be the compromise. And I'll say this, like, the snow game in Ottawa, like, it was memorable. It was awesome. And everyone's talking about it because it's like a one-off. It happened once. I'll tell you this, like, Adam, you and I being there, it was an incredible experience. Like, I'm still beaming about it, but I don't really want to do it again particularly. Like, it was special because it happened one time. Yeah. If that is happening all the time, man, it's completely lost its luster and it becomes annoying and people will be pissed off and they won't come out to see it. Same thing with MLS Cup final when Toronto FC was playing at home in December. It was so cold. I know people that left that game because they were too cold. It was just not an enjoyable experience as much as they wanted to stay there. And the people that did stay there, it was an incredible experience because it was a cup final. If you're asking, what's the term? Can Messi do it or on a snowy Wednesday night in Stoke? Like, you don't want to have to do it if you don't have to. And now they've selected the pathway that they're doing it. And finally, like, what's really interesting about the timing of this, it comes at the same time where they announce a decision to open up the viewership of their product to general Apple TV subscribers. That's why I was excited about this move to Apple TV in the first place, because it was like, oh, I have Apple TV. I'm going to be able to consume this, until they put in like a sub package where you had to pay more money to consume it. But if they were so confident in their fan base and the people wanting to pay and go above and beyond to consume their product, then why is there this rethink on the television rights at this exact same time? You got to be very, very careful with your audience. These are the people that are the blood of your league. And I don't care who you're bringing in via transfers. Your fans matter the most. And I hope that proper consideration was taken into the way that the fans feel about this, because they are the ones that inevitably sink or swim this project in this massive seismic shift.
Fortunately for us, we have another full season to prepare and wonder what it might be like in 2027. But the change is coming, and perhaps the CPL benefits a great deal.